Not yet. Not yet. The monitor, I think, only comes on tomorrow. So for a week. Yep, for a week. So I think she's glad to take it off tomorrow, and then she mails it back. Because they gave her the one that just sits on her chest, and when she feels anything, she can push it back. Good. When I have mine, mine gives you a cell phone, so it's constantly transmitting, and the cell phone. I'm surprised that she didn't get that, but I guess they use a different company.
I was like, why do I feel so long?
So, so
Like,
mine is constantly sending it to her, and if I have problems, I can still press it, but, yeah, that was interesting.
oh, hello, Miss
Right.
Moore.
Look. Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm okay. Have a video tonight.
Sorry. Interesting.
I don't see that here, so
Of
I
what?
guess we'll start.
Of what?
I think we'll start with.
Oh, I got it.
We gotta do the thing, turn on the recording, and all the things.
Paper. I can't really do things at one time. Lenora, I'm like, oh. We both know that's not true. You wear multiple hats better than any person I've ever met.
So when you don't just say you just have to dig a hole, this hole, put it down, dig a hole, and then when you arrange it.
No, we're in New Jersey.
With my daughter.
Check to see if we're on.
We are.
I didn't know.
We're live on
Excellent.
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 Card came in.
I don't remember.
And then
Great.
And if we're on there, we must be on GRTV too,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
It's hot as that. One second.
maybe even more than that.
Oh, yeah. I just remember when I was can you imagine what it was?
And then I had the connection to work in public.
You tell me when you're ready to work together. And she said, well, no, I can't because your father, my father had mentioned him. And he said, well, one of us will stay with dad and one of us will make him.
Ready to go. Well, not really. I gotta get my pad. Hello, people. We're on. Yeah, the people know.
The people know?
Yeah, I think the people. We're on, right?
Yeah, we're on.
All right. Thank you, people.
Assuming we're on.
See, it comes automatically. It's like Houston.
All right, we're getting started.
Oh.
Everyone, thank
I noticed that often.
All right. Welcome to the April 9, 2025 work session of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Glen Rock. This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. This meeting was noticed in the Bergen Record and Star Ledger, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, posted on the borough website, and has remained continuously posted as per the required notices under the statute. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Lenora, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Martin. Councilmember Gilbreath.
Here.
Councilmember Orland.
Here.
Councilmember Call.
Here.
Councilmember Rosansky.
Here.
Councilmember Rosenstein.
Here.
All right. So we have 2 items on our work session agenda for this evening, and then in addition, we'll go around and see what people would like to talk about, would like to have here at the table. The first thing we're going to do is a review of the 2025 capital budget. We reviewed this multiple times in our public budget sessions. So Lenora, I'm gonna turn that over to you. Do you have a copy?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the list, hasn't changed much. These are things that the department heads brought to our attention regarding, capital type projects and purchases that their department is in need of. So, we can quickly go over, the list again, so we can refresh ourselves as to what we're talking about, and what we're going to consider tonight for me to connect with our bond council in order to create an ordinance. So that's really the only way that we can make capital purchases, is through an ordinance. We need a funding mechanism. So the funding mechanism for a capital purchase is either the capital improvement fund, which is all cash, or an ordinance. We still need an ordinance to even spend capital improvement fund. That would be a fully funded ordinance. The capital ordinance has, cash that we use as a down payment, has to be 5%, and the rest is, authorization of bonds and notes. As well as, if you see, you flip right to the bottom, and we're reducing the total request by the amount of grant money that we're applying towards the total. So if we start at the top, we had talked about the drones, and how that may be effective in our public safety departments, to be able to use that. I think the chief had mentioned during fire.
Yeah, the chief mentioned that during emergency situations or fire, that drones are being used more and more by departments around, so they have a better idea of what's going on, as they have a view from above for potential roof collapses, et cetera, et cetera. So it seems to be the next stage in improving the ability of firefighters and other emergency responders to do a more effective and rapid response job.
And we confirmed with Dean that he can't use this out of the available funds, right?
I don't believe that that is part of the list of things that are available, so we have to use what we can get. As well as radio equipment. The Glen Rock Fire Department, typically, this is an annual appropriation, as we have to replace, there's lifespan to the bottles, Scott bottles. So it's a 15-year life, and we need 13 to replace in 2025. Gear, turnout gear needs to replace every 10 years, and it's a $5,000 purchase. So, and I know that we've talked in the administrators group about new legislation about gear replacement, and it's a tough call, because you certainly have departments that utilize their gear on a regular basis, and you have departments that don't. So a 10-year life to one department can be dramatically different to another. So it's a little difficult to grab onto the concept, but I think our professionals would know at what point the gear needs to be replaced. So again, we totally rely on the professionalism of our department heads to let us know what the condition of their equipment is and when it needs to be replaced.
And that's really basic gear, it's not a,
Turnout gear, yes,
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
just,
it's-
you get in it and you
yeah,
go to
it's
fire.
not fancy,
No,
yeah,
it's not fancy, but it's expensive.
but it's expensive.
Some building improvements that they need to do to accommodate some of the, software purchases, computer purchases, as well as the washer and dryer that they're looking to purchase from a grant that they received last year. So where they're still trying to make some room in the limited space that they have to make sure that they can accommodate that, that set. As well as pagers, I think we talked about that. On to DPW. Basically, these are two vehicles the bucket truck body and the tandem truck, both replace a 2003 and a 2004 unit, and we just can't get parts. We use them till we can't get parts. 2003, I mean, that's pretty long lifespan.
20 years is pretty long.
I mean, yeah.
So 20 years.
As well as one additional pickup truck for municipal services.
And these are all for new vehicles?
Correct. So, we don't necessarily have the ability to buy used, because either we have to buy it on state contract, state co-op, county co-op, a variety of co-ops, or, we have to go out to bid. So, the luxury of being able to find something on the lot that's used and being able to just buy it doesn't work all the time. Because it has to, we have to have a certain mechanism in order to make purchases. And it is very problematic, especially during COVID, when you couldn't get things to begin with, and the lead time was 1, 2, and 3 years for the equipment. We're still coming out of that, and at times, again, we know from the fire truck, that's really the latest, biggest purchase that we made. It was a year.
Yep.
And it was pretty much right on the money from when we ordered it to when we got it delivered. It was pretty close to what they told us it was going to be. So I think we're still kind of rolling out of that, and now who knows what's going on with parts and things and.
Right.
Well, just to mention with the fire truck, the reason that we were able to get it within a year was that it was a demo or something that was already partially configured. But I know that the fire chief had said at the time that, unless we were able to find that particular situation, normally it was a 3-year wait.
Mhm.
And now I know, when I just saw him in touch truck, he was saying now departments are having to wait 5 years for a new fire truck. So I don't know if that's playing out with DPW vehicles too, but they're not easy to get.
Yeah. And I'm sure the sticker price is at least 25% more than what we paid at this point.
At least.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
It's-
At least.
The fire chief and I had a conversation about that this past weekend, and it's astronomical how these prices are going now.
Yeah.
It's not gonna change.
No, it's not looking good. So again, I think, for us, that was a very quick decision, because we either had to make it and get it, or, we were gonna be stuck waiting. And so I think we're thankful that that purchase was made at the time that it was made, and we move on.
Hopefully you
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, if we wanted to go into the used market, could we not pass an ordinance working around the public bid?
No, no, we can't work around state statute, we can't work around, finance law.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't really, I'd love to, believe me, so would all my department heads.
But there are ways to pursue a used purchase if we wanted
We
to.
could probably go out to bid for a
But
specific,
it's a financial threshold after which you have to go out to bid, so,
correct.
and so,
I mean,
And-
sometimes if you purchase under a state contract or through a co-op, you have some sort of trade-in value, but as a general rule, used vehicles for governmental services, in part because the specifications are more specific, to be redundant.
For a used one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the specifications of what you're looking for, it's a little different than, you and I are going to replace the family car. I don't know that I've ever really seen a used vehicle. Sometimes a trade-in value, but not commonly.
Yeah, I mean, my concern is just looking at this, bucket truck body, 170K, tandem truck, 261. I know this is what these things cost new, but I'm looking at government surplus websites, I'm looking at other sellers of used vehicles, and these vehicles can be had, certainly not 2003, not 2004, far newer, where there are parts available, and the prices are substantially less than what we're talking about here.
We've gone down that road before, not with DPW, but with other parts and buys, right? We've done that many times in the past, but I don't think for something this large, not for a large.
Because then there's also the question of the useful life of and how you're financing.
Well, because the
the-
police department's done that.
don't know what these are. They're not here for a reason.
My biggest concern is, we're already talking about substantial capital expenditures, we're talking about potentially a tax increase this year. There's ways that we can bring this number down to a more reasonable number, and find ways to further taxpayer money better. I think we need to explore it.
And again, the only other thing I'll say to that is, buying used is potentially buying somebody else's problem.
Oh, yes.
And we, frankly, I don't think we've ever purchased a used vehicle.
One of the things that allows us to have vehicles for 20-plus years is that we actually have a really good mechanic team. You know, and the mechanics are able to keep vehicles on the road for these extended periods of time out of need, right? That they're able to do that. You know, we get to this point where we can't get parts, and that becomes the problem. And as you know, parts, even used parts are getting, when they're available, they're getting, you know, pretty scarce.
Right, and the idea may be that instead of buying new every 20 years, we buy used every 10.
Well, I think the other thing we have to consider is for financing capital items, you're financing them over the useful life of the capital project. To the extent that we're buying a used vehicle, to the extent that we could get there from a state procurement perspective, we're shortening the term over which we're financing it, so it may not be an actual, we may not really see an actual dollar savings in any event. Because, you know, if it's half as expensive as a new, but we're financing it over 10 years versus, you know, the longer term, the other procurement requirements related to capital financing may be from that.
Sure, without seeing the numbers, it's hard to say either way.
Well, let's continue down the list. You know, this is the prudent recommendation from our DPW director, so let's keep going down the list.
Okay, we had talked about our shared service with Fairlawn with our salt barn. It's been many years before we've had to contribute to any services over there. So that would be our share. I know we talked about paving earlier in the year, that we're really not doing a municipal paving because of all of the work that PSE&G has done and Richard Water has done and will be doing. So there's just a small piece in the DPW annex that needs to have some attention. Fencing, we've also had to replace and add some fencing in the DPW annex. Office computers in the DPW, we have, we work with our IT professionals, and they have a running database of our computers and their useful life, and now we're going to Windows 11, and some computers aren't able to make the jump to some are, and we certainly are going to transition all of the ones that can. But if, like the trucks, the DPW keep their computers a very long time. Again, all in compliance with our redundancy and our backup, but they do have a few that do need to be replaced, as does administration, kind of like the catch-all as well. The bathroom in the mechanics garage is a plan that Bob came up with, which is pretty awesome. It'll give a little bit more flexibility and a little bit better space to some of the users of the garage on a everyday basis. That will be a nice improvement over there.
Also has a safety component because it will have an inside and an outside shower for any hazmat emergencies that happen. So that's pretty important over there.
Root control is an annual appropriation. We have sections of town that need treatment, and again, we've been doing this for every year in the capital budget. And the tree request was made by, Shade Tree. That is, $35,000 replacement for trees. Moving down to administration, like I had mentioned earlier, the office computers, we're gonna just go by the list and what computers can't be upgraded are going to be replaced. So this was originally 10,000, and we did get a report from the engineer regarding MS4 reporting and stormwater requirements. Apparently now, there's some pollution prevention plan that the borough needs to file by the end of the year. And I don't know too much about the pollution prevention plan, but in getting the proposal from our engineers, they indicated that it was something that needs to be incorporated into our program. So I put the estimate amount in, for us to kind of talk about, maybe get a little bit more information on it, how strict the state's gonna be about the requirement, the deadline. This is something new to me as well. I don't know if anybody else has heard about that, or the watershed inventory report. I don't know. So it's a lot of compliance issues, and again, we rely on our engineer to do that. I don't know, many municipalities that could do that themselves. We just don't have the expertise in our personnel to do that, so we have to rely on our engineering staff.
And all the towns are struggling a little bit with the MS4 requirements, and because, no matter City of Newark, or East Newark, which is, a tenth of a square mile, we
Right.
have the same requirements
Yeah.
about, all of these deliverables, and they're expensive.
Yeah.
And creating those reports is a capital expense, not operating?
Well, again, we have generally been able to put the stormwater, the MS4, stormwater management in the capital budget. We have over the last 10 years.
There's a certain amount of soft costs because they relate to larger capital items to the maintenance of your stormwater system that you're allowed to finance.
Closely connected to infrastructure, so.
Okay. For recreation, we have, the guardrail at Memorial. We have, some purchases for our recreational facilities, benches and tables that have been looking to replace for a number of years now. The turf field groomer, I did have, Brian reach out to the Board of Ed, and I guess he was waiting to see what kind of schedule they could provide to us to be able to use that equipment. He has not given me a definite report about if that would be accommodating to our schedule. So it's still in for consideration. And, the Wild Park lighting system, that's a $75,000 Bergen County Open Space grant. And the match, which is required, a dollar for dollar match is proposed to come out of the open space, the Borough of Glen Open Space Trust Fund. So that needs to be put into an ordinance in order the money to be available to spend. Similarly, with, just skipping down to, NJDOT East Gramercy, we applied for NJDOT paving money. We received $190,050 from NJDOT. We have to pay for some expenses on our own. I think that the quote was somewhere around 300, but I think the engineer tends to quote the NJDOT projects a little bit on the high side, just in case there's any issues that come up when they do their paving. So I made it a $275,000 project and reduced the amount of the total request by the $190,50 that we'll be getting from the state of New Jersey. And then just backtracking to Northwest Bergen Central, they're replacing consoles at Central Dispatch, and because this is our company, where the infrastructure is on the owners, which is the Borough of Glenrock and the Village of Ridgewood, this is our share. So, yeah. So typically, this is, from my experience and over the last number of years, this is a reasonable capital budget request. I'm sure if Bob were here, he would like to load it up with a few more trucks, but he's hoping that you're gonna be
And rec,
considering, you know,
amazing that recreation.
the building, and obviously I moved that out of the immediate program because that's still, going through the process.
Is someone else?
It's probably my computer, it just makes
Oh.
noises.
Risky.
It goes, you know, we're going through the process of, public information and public relations and open houses, so that, and we always kind of said that was gonna be a separate issue, a separate ordinance.
I just have a quick question about the drone. Is,
Speak up, I'm sorry.
I just have a question about the drone. That 10,000 is for one,
It's 15 and I think
Sorry,
it's for one,
15?
yeah.
and it's, alright, so it's gonna
I
be
think
one,
it's like that.
yeah, it's
I
like
don't
a
know.
serious one.
It's a serious one, yeah.
I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure, I just wanted to understand that that's the number. We're just purchasing
Yes,
one drone.
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, good, okay.
All right, I'm gonna hit the pause, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
can I ask a
no,
question? I was
go
gonna hit
ahead.
the pause button on capital for a minute because I wanna get to, our guests this evening. So, if y'all would like to come to the table.
These are open. Like these. But then you won't be on camera.
No, we're good not being
Oh.
on camera.
You wanna sit here?
Unless you wanna be on camera. Okay.
So, we are welcoming, Kathleen Walter and
Rosalie McGowan.
Rosalie McGowan, who are here because they've been working on some pre-revolution New Jersey items, as I think I've mentioned previously. We are hitting this year the 250th anniversary of the ride of Paul Revere and 5 other people,
Yes.
right? So, we're gonna hear from them a little bit, and then we're actually gonna see a short video that Kathleen and our wonderful high school students prepared, which is, or has already been sent to Glen Rock TV.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we are going to get that out there, but this is our sort of kickoff to Revolution NJ and the celebration of the 250th anniversary of our country.
Thank you. Well, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to address the borough leadership and the residents. My name is Kathleen McDermott Walter. I have the honor of serving as the borough historian. I am the president of the Glen Rock Historical and Preservation Society. I am a history teacher at Glen Rock High School, and now I'm the chair of the Glen Rock Route to Liberty Committee. And as you know, 2026 marks a significant milestone. It's the 200th anniversary, or the semi-quincentennial of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And I wanted to share that word with you myself and not make a student say it. So the students that we work with are exceptional, and I appreciate that Rosie is joining us with us tonight. So, but from now on, we're just going to call it 250. Anyway, this is our Historical Society intern, and she's actually one of the student members of the Glen Rock Road to Liberty Committee, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about the plans that we have.
Hi, my name is Rosalie McGowan, and I'm a junior at Glen Rock High School. And we're kicking off the 250th anniversary next week with the national celebration, America 250, leading that way. There will be numerous events across the national parks to celebrate this remarkable anniversary. Glen Rock Road to Liberty is proudly partnered with Revolution NJ and Bergen 250, and we'll be sharing both state and county events with you alongside of our local celebrations. This year we have a fantastic lineup of events, including an exciting Independence Day parade, a wonderful Pops concert, and a Revolutionary War encampment showcasing New Jersey soldiers. You could also look forward to children's games from the Revolutionary era hosted by Friends of the Library, a special 5-day event by the VFW, and a program on herbal medicine from the Jersey Dutch history, presented by the Glen Rock Arboretum. We're also planning a special high tea at the Hermitage, courtesy of Wix. We're working hard to ensure there's something for every age group, from children interacting with Captain Dave Marinas, a notable revolutionary figure from Glen Rock area, to adults gauging with reenactors during a tavern talk while enjoying Hackensack Brewery beer at the Glen Rock Inn. With so many events there, and we want everyone to truly enjoy this historic year. And I want to also share another board member, Yuri Bashan, and Connor Bradsby, who have worked together to create a very special video, which will be shown to elementary school students in Glen Rock this week to help commemorate and kick off the anniversary celebrations. And one of the highlights this year is the 250th anniversary of the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere, which will take place on April 18th. I'd now like to introduce the video and give a special thanks to Connor Bradsby for his help in putting this together. And if you're in the area, be sure to drive by the municipal building to see the special signal that Paul Revere arranged 250 years ago.
There'll be 2 lamps.
In 2 different windows, so 4 altogether, and they will be on the night of April 18th, right? So it's very exciting. So Lenore, so we should do the video?
Yes.
So it's about 4 minutes. It's a great video, and this is
Kids made it.
Awesome.
What's up, Panthers? Today I'm joined here by Miss Walter, a history teacher here at the high school. So Miss Walter, what is so special about this year?
Oh my gosh, this year is the 250th anniversary of Paul Revere's ride as he is going from Boston to Lexington and Concord. It is literally the beginning of the shock around the world, the Revolutionary War. The entire United States will be celebrating the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and our whole country is going to be celebrating all year. So first we have the country celebrating, then we have the state of New Jersey. We actually have an organization called RevNJ because New Jersey was the crossroads of the Revolution. Bergen County played a huge role in the entire war. George Washington was constantly in Bergen County, and so we had Bergen County 250 who also celebrated, and of course then Glen Rock has to celebrate. So the first thing that's happening is that on April 18th, it is the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere.
Listen, my children, and you shall hear the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. On the 18th of April in 75, hardly a man is now alive. Who remembers that famous day in Eden? He said to his friend, if the British march by land or sea from the town tonight, hang a lantern aloft in the belfry arms of the North Church Tower as a signal light. 1 if by land and 2 if by sea, and I on the opposite shore will be, ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm for the country folk to be up and on. These are the words written by Harvard professor and romantic poet Henry Randolph to commemorate that fateful night of April 18, 1775. But what really happened? In 1775, the city of Boston was suffering under the oppressive restrictions of the Intolerable Acts after the Boston Tea Party. They were occupied by a large, well-supplied army of red. Through collective punishment, all the citizens of Massachusetts, the British Parliament was trying to recoup the cost of the tea that was dumped into the Boston Harbor. On the night of April 18, 1775, Son of Liberty leader Paul Revere was warned by Dr. Joseph Warren that the British regular army, the Redcoats, would be marching that night into Lexington and Concord, hoping to seize all the weapons and Minutemen militia stored in the conquered army and arrest Samuel Adams and John Hancock. They did not call out the British are coming, as that would have confused the people of that era. At that time, they were all British citizens, so it wouldn't have made sense. However, it's more likely that he said the regulars are coming or the redcoats are coming to differentiate from just normal people.
I'm Ori Bashan, a junior at Glen Rock High School. I'm also an intern at the Glen Rock Historical and Preservation Society. For the kickoff of Road to Liberty, we'll be taking a look at Paul Revere's ride and the kickoff of the Revolutionary War. The Battle of Lexington and Concord, fought on April 19, 1775, was the first military engagement of the American Revolutionary War. It marked the beginning of open conflict between the 13 American colonies and Great Britain. By 1775, tensions between the American colonies and the British government had been escalating for years, largely due to issues like taxation without representation and British interference in colonial affairs. In response to growing unrest, the British government decided to take military action to disarm the colonial militias and suppress the rebellion. On the night of April 18, 1775, British General Thomas Gage ordered about 700 British soldiers, known as Redcoats, to march from Boston to Concord to seize the arms. The British were unaware that the colonists had been tipped off about their plan. As the British soldiers advanced toward Concord, local militias, known as Minutemen, began to mobilize in response. The first confrontation took place in Lexington, a small village between Boston and Concord. When the British troops arrived in Lexington, they encountered a group of around 77 colonial militiamen on the town's common. The British ordered them to disperse, but a shot was fired. It's unclear who fired the first shot. This skirmish lasted only a few minutes, with the British killing 8 militiamen and wounding several others. This event is often referred to as the shot heard around the world, symbolizing the start of the war.
That's Connor. He's dramatic. I'll just add a couple of things. We are officially revolutionary, a community. We are listed, all of the events that we're doing are listed on the state and actually on the county website and on our website. And the cannon that you saw, we have a grant out there because we'd like to fire a cannon off in Glen Rock, if you guys are all okay with that.
I'm sure we'd love to fire a cannon.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Well, I don't know who to ask for that one.
How far does the cannon go?
No, it's
I'll
no,
check
no,
our
it's-
cannon firing ordinance
Yes,
is.
I don't know what the ordinance is.
No
but-
cannonball.
No cannonball, just actually just an explosion.
Well, that's helpful.
It's just a loud noise, and so that would be that too.
So that's great. Is this gonna go up on, so I know, so the historical, I've said this before, but I'll say it again, the Historical Society, their website is gonna have a page dedicated to Revolution NJ.
Mhm.
Will this video be up there?
A link to the video.
A link to the
will be
video will be there? Okay.
So it'll be
So-
there, and everything that we do, all of our events, as we iron them out,
Yep.
we're gonna have them on a calendar. We'll make sure that they're also shared with everybody else. We're looking to have multiple events every month, starting now. But as we get closer and closer to July 4th, my hope, like I said, we put in for a few grants, including with the library, the state library. We put in a few grants and we are hoping, like, I would love to buy lots and lots of tri-corner hats at the, at the parade, just to see all the little kids running around in tri-corner hats. So we're gonna talk to the HSA for that. So we hope it's gonna be a great year.
It will be a great year. The committees and groups, organizations, 501c3s from town have already come together and we meet regularly. And I think that the events themselves will be really fantastic and
It's gonna be a
it'll
lot
be
of
a,
fun.
be a fun year.
Really great.
But this is a great way to kick it off, so
Yeah.
thank you for this and
Thank you.
I'm gonna leave this to put in the window of like the door or something, I'm
yep,
not sure.
we'll figure out a place to put it. Yep, no, that's great.
Awesome.
That's
Okay,
fantastic.
perfect.
Thank you guys for having us.
Thank you both
Thank
so
you for
much.
having us.
Thank you to your interns for such great work. It was a really great presentation.
All right, that's great. Okay.
Oh my gosh, they didn't say the British are coming.
I know.
I hate to say that, what is that, Schoolhouse Rock is wrong. Sometimes that happens.
That's what we grew up on.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
So, that's a capital. So, does anybody from the council have any additional capital questions?
I think that we should throw out, the library project, kind of talk about that.
We can talk about that now, yeah.
A little bit. So as we've been talking about kind of for months, if not years,
Mhm.
The elevator project at the library. We were very fortunate to get 2 grants that we've applied, the appropriation to, and we had a budget of around $750,000 to do the elevator, and the low bid came in at $1,061,000. So we are probably more like 4 with professional services and
Yep.
and bonding costs. So we kind of have to build in some costs there, so.
And we received several bids, it was
We
competitive.
received 6.
Yeah.
And that was the low. I think it went from 1.061 to 1.9. So it was pretty widespread.
The architect is looking at it.
Yeah, there's a board meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
And the idea is that they are going to go back kind of to the drawing board and scale everything back and see how bare bones they can make it, and then go out to bid again.
Okay.
So I just wanna point out with that I think we may wanna think too about how bare bones we want it to be, given that, you know, the library as it is beautiful and everybody loves the library, and I don't think that we wanna do something that's gonna look not up to the standards of what's there, so
I don't think
I'm
that
torn
that's the idea
between-
though. I think the idea would be to see where there are areas that can be scaled back, and then, you know, I think, you know, Jeff's firm's a very good firm. I don't think they're gonna do anything that's not attractive, but but to your point, yes, but I do kind of feel like we should explore this first before we give any wiggle room. I think it's important to see if we can get any bids out. That my only question is with the grants, is there time to
There's
figure
deadlines.
That was gonna be my
Yeah.
question, are we gonna run into a deadline problem?
what are the deadlines for that?
So, the recreation $500,000 grant, I know I've been working with our grant writer in recouping some of the costs that we've already spent out of the other money that we received there. And I know that he had mentioned that there is a deadline and there's room for an extension, but I don't think it goes beyond the end of the year. So
Okay.
that does put us into a little bit of a time, because everything has to be expended. So when we go to file for our reimbursement, we have to have spent the money, we have to have documentation where the money has been spent. With community development, it becomes a little bit more challenging because there's deadlines for that too, but again.
How much is the community development?
$199.
Okay.
So that becomes a little bit more challenging, only because the reporting for the community development is pretty intense. And I know that the representation from the community development board, don't forget to invite me to the kickoff meeting. And again, we'd love to have a kickoff meeting if we could get a good bid. So I think that Kristen might have followed up with her already, and I'll follow up with the grant writer as well, Joe, and make sure that we don't miss the deadlines to
yeah.
extend.
Could you let me know?
Yeah.
What those deadlines are?
Yeah.
Thank you.
The email that you sent us today about getting rid of the cupola and the roof over the stair, that would reduce it by 200 to 250,000, you're saying. But is that, you're saying that aesthetically?
Well, that's my concern, right? I think we have to consider, like,
Yeah.
if we cut all that out, is it the original drawing that we had seen, right? The very preliminary was just kind of a block elevator, and the thought was we don't really want to do that because it wouldn't be consistent, and that's why we put in the cupola and the awning, you know, to try to make it look nice. So I absolutely don't want it to get any more over budget, and I'm very happy to try to cut the cost, but I do think that this is something that we're gonna live with for as long as any of us is gonna be in Glen Rock, right? So I just, you know, I don't know, I would hate to be,
I guess if the structure could be done and certain things added later, I don't know, but, you know, it might be that,
Yes, the cupola is only aesthetic.
right, and so
Yeah.
could
Could that be a
it be
phase two?
structurally, you know, like, these are the questions, could it be
Yeah.
structurally ready
Exactly.
and then,
that's good.
and then later,
Yeah.
you know, added on? Cause I think the most important thing to me is to preserve, whatever we're doing, to preserve the community space component. Like, for me, and we have to because of the grants,
Right.
so.
So the architect is going to come up with some drawings that remove these items and see
Yeah,
how
he's
they
gonna,
can.
he's gonna revamp.
Yeah.
So I think though that the council should be prepared to consider appropriating additional funds. That's just the way, you know, to be able to do a project like this, and considering that the original 7 is grant money, and considering that the library has no source of income other than,
I gotta bring those book
Budget.
bags back.
Well, they are there, they're just not the same.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, I do think that, you know, the Friends have been talking about for years about their fundraising efforts, and I think we need to hear a little bit from them as well.
That maybe this is something they could
This is,
contribute to.
and again, if it may be, I'm not saying to wait, because that's not gonna happen, but there are other components of the project that would
Right,
be
maybe
sort of
they can
phase,
raise money for the cupola.
or phase 2, whatever it is, but I think this is well, and the rest of the things that they've talked about fundraising for.
Hmm? They have some money in the
Yes,
Friends,
yes,
like
I
maybe
know.
this is
Yeah.
good use.
Mm-hmm,
Right.
yeah,
So
we'll discuss.
I think that's just an important point.
Yeah.
So is it meeting with them tomorrow, or what did you?
There's a board, the
Board meeting.
library board meeting, board tomorrow, it's tomorrow.
Yep.
so maybe then at our next work session, we can get an update, because again,
Yep,
if we don't include the components of the grant in this ordinance, we're going to have to do another one.
right.
So, we have the 500 in play, but I don't think we have the 199.
Okay.
So we will have to figure that out. Again, we always need a mechanism to spend money, and we always need authorization from the council to spend
I'll
money.
find, I mean, obviously from Jeff, we'll see how quickly we can turn this over so it can go out to bid as soon as possible, again.
Yeah.
If that's the course that they're planning to take, if he feels that it's a significant enough change to go out to bid again.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Because at this point, we just don't have the funding to award the project. So I think at our next meeting, we're gonna have to reject the bids. And we
Oh,
wanna kinda,
I think.
yeah, we wanna make them,
Phase first.
it's only fair to the bidder, the low bidder, to
Yeah.
kinda know
Yeah.
we don't have the funding in place, and simultaneously move in another direction where maybe we can make it work a little bit better,
Mhm.
possibly with the consideration that we have to be prepared to participate in the funding,
Yep, great.
so,
All right, so our next meeting is
23rd,
hmm?
23rd.
23rd, so I don't know what information might come back, but we'll see where we are after tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, let's go around the table and.
I have one
Oh,
more
you have
thing.
one more thing?
I'm sorry.
I didn't know, I'm so
Um,
sorry.
I just wanted to make sure, because we've kind of been on hold with pool badges until we confirmed wipe off why, right? So I wanted to make sure that the council was on board with moving forward with a contract with the wipe off Y for the 6 weeks for early,
What's
they
the-
would take
Early morning.
early morning.
What's the amount?
We're negotiating that. The recreation director is in talks with Wyckoff Y, and we'd have to come back to do.
Equal or better?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wanna say we had a 2-year contract prior, and it was 13 and 14, or 12 and 13, each per year for the use of the 6 weeks.
That's great.
So, I'm gonna say that it's gonna be 15, and they're interested in a multi-year contract, because they want to know what their increases will be, they want to know what they anticipate in the next 3 years, or the next 4 years, whatever.
Have they said what do they mean by multi-year? Do they mean,
They would like to make it as long as we're willing to offer it.
They're great. I mean, I don't think we should do, you know,
Right.
a long,
I don't think we
long
can.
term,
I don't think we
but like
can.
3 years.
I
think
thought
it
we
was-
did it as a lease or a
offer 3
license,
year.
but, yeah.
But I think that's what this contract was.
Three.
was
This
3
was
years.
2, I think.
It was 2. the
Yeah.
last
this was
time.
2,
Mhm.
right, and we wanted to see
Bump
how
it
it
to
went
3
and
years.
Yeah.
Signing for 3 years would be fair.
see what issues
Yeah.
popped up, but.
Yeah,
They're-
so I guess I'm just looking for confirmation that this is a go, so that we can put together the pool schedule, so that we're transparent on when lap swimming is available and when it's
Right.
not available,
Right,
so that everybody understands.
before they buy their bag.
I'm
Before
a-
they buy their bags.
I'm a yes. I'm
Yeah.
an absolute yes.
Everybody's good with this, with
Yes.
that? Okay, so with that, I think we're going to try to do badge sales starting Monday. So, yeah, well, people have been coming in, they want their pool badge. So, and again, I don't wanna say the majority, but more than not have used our online service, which is easy now because everything is a QR code and everything goes over email, so that works out very nicely. But again, I didn't wanna sell badges until we were firm with this, because we've had issues in the past and I didn't wanna have any issues. I wanted it to be nice and smooth and move forward with the 2025 season.
Yep.
Great. Now I'm done, I think.
So we'll go around the table, I'm gonna start, I have two things. So I'm bringing this, to the council because we agreed this is what we would do, so the Arboretum would like to have an event on June 22nd at 8 o'clock at night, and it's a Firefly Watch. And so they're gonna make a fairy house with kids during the day, and then they're gonna do a Firefly Watch, but it's after hours, so it's 8 o'clock. I'm okay with it, but I just wanna make sure everybody's okay with that. The Lantern Walk in December was really great, you know, after hours, so, but we agreed that each time we would come back and, you know, I would come back on their behalf and get the okay, so that was one. And then I just wanted to point out, one of the resolutions in here is supporting the preservation of the federal tax exemption, and this came out of the league, and the league has highlighted that the federal government is talking about taking away the tax exemption on municipal bonds, which would mean that they'd be less attractive to buy and they would cost us a lot more. And so this is you know, I asked the mayor and Lenore, let's put this on our agenda, and then we'll send it to all of our government folks all the way up the line, so that we're saying, like, this is not good for municipalities, this is really horrible. So it's another good reason to see what the league is coming out with, because they come out with some,
They keep it for us.
you know, important items. So that's why that's on there tonight. It's because we really have to pay attention to this one, because it is going to cost municipalities so much more, and who knows what'll happen, so.
It was already retrenched somewhat in the Tax Act a few years ago, with respect to refinancing certain debt. So it is a very real possibility. And the difference between tax exempt and taxable rates is real money.
It's, yeah, so it makes it really hard. So anyway, it's something super important to keep on top of, and we'll have to think what else we can do with our electeds and see what happens, so. All right, I'm gonna start this way. Jill?
Okay, thank you. So first, I just wanna let everyone know quickly about the community cleanup, which took place this past weekend and was really a great success. We had over 100 people that came and cleaned. I don't know the number of sites, but there were a lot of sites, and I can tell you the site I went to really was sort of shockingly disastrous when I got there, so it really made a big difference, multiplied by these many sites with many bags of garbage collected at each one. So I think both very productive as far as cleanup, and really a nice community event, and great to see so much turnout. And then this morning, Lenora and I had a meeting with the police chief and our traffic officer, and so I have a few updates relating to pedestrian safety. The first is that the Glen Rock Police Department has received an AAA crosswalk enforcement grant, which will provide for a number of hours of crosswalk enforcement, where there will be officers stopping cars and issuing summons for people who do not stop for pedestrians in the crosswalk. So hopefully that will help remind people of their obligations to stop for pedestrians.
Do you happen to know if part of the grant, they have to report back to say how many summonses they issue?
They do have to report back, and I don't know exactly what information they have to provide, but there are a few different data points that they need to provide.
That's one, you know, later on, if you can just find out, that'd be great.
I have it.
Thank you.
Sure. And then the next item to report from that is that apparently for many years, even prior to COVID, and then it got put on hold for a little while during COVID and is now coming back, that we do not have an ordinance establishing a speed limit on our borough roads. And it's also unclear what the speed limit is on our county roads, and so we apparently need an ordinance for the borough roads, and our engineer is preparing a report to submit to the county so that we can put signage on all of the roads with speed limit signs, and could then do more to enforce the speed limits.
That's just a little bit of a slippery slope, though, because the county roads that we have several in this town, I think are 35 miles per hour.
Well,
So that is something that should be negotiated with the police department, I think, or if there's any way that we can do that, because having our county roads that run through Glen Rock that right now they say 25 miles an hour, Maple and Prospect, Harristown, Lincoln, they will bump up to 35.
Well, we had talked about this a year and a half ago. One of the things that I thought was happening within the police department, just from Mary's conversations, right, when she had public safety, was that one of the things that would have to happen is they would do a traffic study, and they would see what the average speed was, but then use that with the county, right, to either say it goes one way or another.
well, I'm sorry,
I'm
but
not
it
sure what
sounds
that-
like from the
what
studies
the
that have
result
been
is.
done, that on the county roads, except for Rock Road right in town, could be 25, but the rest of it, they said, would have to be 35.
Right, and I think that that's something that we as a borough should contest with the county.
I mean, we could
For
certainly,
public safety.
we could certainly advocate it with the county, but the county does have sole
Right,
discretion on.
of course they do, but
Yeah.
we have,
No, I just want
we
us
have
to
the
be
ability
aware
to
of what
challenge
we-
it, don't we? I mean.
It's a double-edged sword though, right?
Right.
Right now, the police will not issue summonses because there's no ordinance.
Well, they do. Let's just be clear
But
on that.
they-
They do.
Not on county roads.
Oh, yes, they do. I live on one and they do. Many times.
So what they
And
said
maybe
is,
they do it if they're going 50 miles an hour.
that's exactly.
Right.
Exactly, but
And that
Right.
happens.
But if
And
they're
then
going
if we put
30,
in a
But they do, so
35
you
mile
can't
limit,
say that they're not.
then they
doing
would be
it.
able to do it more.
But I would like to know what the mechanism is to challenge the county on the speed limit. So can we find out?
Yeah, so it's not a challenge.
Or whatever it is.
But I mean, it would be in, an engineering, it would be an advocacy, letter, communication, meeting, what have you, with the county engineering department.
Right, so our borough engineer is currently writing up a report that would go to the county, and I guess if we wanted to talk to the engineer about what should be in that report, we could do that.
I think that would be great, and then I'd also like to advocate on behalf of the borough with the engineer if that's possible. And I'll talk to our county reps as well.
Can we
Great.
still, if we don't have an ordinance for the 25 miles an hour on any other roads,
Right, that is a separate
Can-
thing that
Well,
we
the
that
Glen
be
Rock,
should,
separate?
the
yeah,
Glen Rock
for the
roads,
Glen Rock.
why not?
So
I think we should.
the
Yes.
Glen Rock roads are ours, right, we can establish the ordinance, I'm feeling uncertain that there's nothing in the code I know that there have been some codification issues when the code was digitized quite some time ago. We ran into that with the park hours, that there were some things that we all knew to be true, that, weren't in the
but
e-code.
if this is coming up today, 2025,
Yep.
that we don't have an ordinance to do that, and somebody just figured that out, that's pretty shocking.
Well, it doesn't sound, in fairness, like they just figured it out. It sounds like this was an issue pre-COVID and then got a little backburnered and now it's moving back. But that their plan, it sounded like pretty soon, is to get information to you to draft an ordinance
Okay.
for 25 mile an hour speed limit on all borough roads. And from what I'm hearing from this body, we are interested in
Sounds like we
passing
can
that
make an ordinance
Yeah.
just for the town roads, and then we can take another maybe
Yeah, we'll have to.
Well, then
do-
it's a matter of
do
talking
they
to
have
the
do a separate
engineer about the
ordinance
report.
For county roads?
They're separate, and we don't pass
have
an
it,
ordinance
right,
for
we
the
don't,
county.
right, we only pass it for Glen Rock. But also, I think we might, for our borough roads for 25, there might be areas that should be less than 25. I know that sounds crazy, but I've noticed in a lot of other towns around us, there are speed limits that are less than that in certain areas. And we all know that when 25, when there's 25 posted, the minimum, most people go 35, and so, or more, right? So, I'm just saying that, I'm thinking of Adrian.
I know it's like that.
But I'm just saying it, I mean, we all witness it, right? I'm just saying that, maybe the ordinance shouldn't be a blanket 25, maybe the police should be
So-
looking at areas that.
This is what I would say, let's get the 25 done, and then if we wanna do studies in other locations, then let's address those. Because otherwise, this is gonna drag on, like, I'm assuming Jen could have a 25-mile-an-hour ordinance for next meeting, for first reading.
I'm assuming that as well, but I'll just double check, cause sometimes
Dean has one that
sometimes
he's
there are
already-
weird.
So, yeah, Dean has
Right.
schools.
So-
Yeah.
But-
It's on vacation
Yeah,
after
but down
tomorrow,
Rock Road,
so maybe you could reach out.
you know. But
Maybe it'll be
fire.
Or if it's
Maybe,
fine.
yeah.
So I'm gonna put,
But I would agree, that
Yes,
I would move
it's not
forward with the
it's not the
25.
preparation issue, I just, so we run into this with crosswalks and things, there are DOT regulations, for example, about, certain, so barring any external issues like that, which I just need to check. But, yeah, actually preparing it is not gonna be a problem.
but our goal would be first reading for
ASAP,
23, yeah,
yeah.
like that's that.
Great. And then,
I didn't know that you.
Jill, you're on fire.
yeah, this was a very informative meeting, I have to say.
Oh, yes, right.
We have 6 county roads.
So then, as far as the questions that have been raised about crosswalks and flashing signs, for lack of a better word, at various schools and other points around town. I don't know if everyone got to see, I forwarded earlier today the report that they did on Coleman School, which really, after their evaluation, showed that it gets far less car traffic, far fewer car incidents than many other parts of town, so really is not someplace that the police department has identified as someplace in need of these safety precautions. They have identified a number of areas that they do feel are more appropriate, some of which they have already obtained funding from the Bergen County Sheriff's Office for one in front of Central School on Maple Avenue, and one in front of John's Boy right in town, and then the 2 next priority areas that they identified are by the middle school, high school, one at the corner of Harristown and Hamilton, and one at the corner of Belmont and Harristown, like by the middle school entrance.
So they're gonna get 2 flashing lights by the high school, flashing signs?
So for now, they have the funding for the one in front of Central,
Right.
and the one in front of John's Boy, and we spoke some about maybe whether one of the ones from John's Boy, not one of the ones, the one from John's Boy would be better put by the high school. But for now, there are 2 going in the works, in the process. And those are what were identified as the 4 highest areas of concern by the traffic officer in the police department. And then there also are two more going on Prospect, one at Prospect in Cornwall and one at Prospect in Ackerman. And those also have already been funded. I don't remember the source, I don't have it written down. But those 2 have been funded, we're just waiting. There's a crosswalk that needs to be repainted, and as soon as that is done, those flashers are ready to go in. And then they also are looking at adding a mid-block crosswalk near the pool, because when we repaved Doremus this summer, right, that the speed bumps are being taken away because speed bumps apparently have fallen out of favor as a traffic calming device. So they'll be putting in a mid-block crosswalk by the pool and also putting in those flashing signs by the pool because of all the recreational areas there and children and concern about that. So those are what have been identified as the highest priority areas, and they're moving forward on all of that.
Great, that's great. Do we don't have a timeline, like 6 months, 2 months?
Not exactly, except that most of that is currently in the works. The 2 on Prospect, like I said, I believe it's over, did we talk about over the summer that the
Well, we have, I think-
crosswalk is being painted, or as soon as they can get it painted,
I
and
think
then
we
there's
have to
the
do it.
Okay.
So,
yes,
if we want it done, we have to do it, the county's not gonna do it.
right.
So as soon as the weather's favorable enough for someone to come out and get rid of the one and put it in the place that it's gonna be, then the police department will order the flashers and put them in, because like Dean said, they don't have room to store it. So we're kind of waiting for the adjustment in the crosswalk on the street, and then they should be going in soon,
Right.
this
In
spring.
the works,
And-
the crosswalk? in?
Again, it's kind of a weather dependent thing, we wanna be able to
Right,
do the thermoplastic,
right,
crosswalk.
but it's
I would
on
say within the
it's
next
on
2 months, yeah.
And
it's on
then
the docket,
yeah,
okay.
and then the 2 that are being funded through the sheriff's office, which is the one by Central and either the one by Johnsboy or one by the high school. Those also, the funding has been obtained, so that should be done really pretty quickly. And then the other 2, they're working on the funding. So I don't think there's a sense that it's gonna take a long time, but it will be a little bit longer.
And I think depending upon how the bids come in for doing this, we may be funding it through that, through our appropriation for doing this
That's
payment.
important.
And that also will be over the summer, right?
Well, again, it better be before the summer, cause I need to get the paving done before we go to pool.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if it warms up.
Yeah.
All right. Elizabeth?
The only thing I have to talk about is the Board of Health, we got the sample Narcan boxes and pouches. We're ordering 30 of the pouches.
How was that, good?
Yeah, they're great, yeah.
Okay,
And,
so we want them?
yeah, and so we're pretty excited to, we're gonna be working with DPW to have the Narcan installed into all of the AED boxes. And, yeah, and just figuring out now who's going to be monitoring and maintaining those. So that's what we're working on. And we're gonna be offering the 30 Narcan pouches to local restaurants and businesses and other high traffic areas in the borough that don't have access, or don't have an AED already installed.
So I'm sure that you saw, because I don't know, if I pointed it out the last time we talked
I
about
saw
the
that
budget,
number, yeah.
is that the money that we've collected over the last 4 years, 3 years, more,
I was gonna say less, but
less,
I thought it's.
3 years maybe?
Yeah.
Is now, there's an anticipated revenue and there's an expense, so that we have the ability to spend it. Before, it was kind of just sitting
You're talking about the money from the Sackler?
from the settlements.
Yeah, the settlement.
The settlement,
Yeah.
that's what we would be
Yeah,
using to
exactly.
buy
Right,
anything in this
anything
regard.
opioid related.
Right, so
Yeah.
now we have a mechanism to be able to spend
Yeah.
money, so that works out perfectly.
So, here's my question for you, because you know more about those settlement funds. Is it possible to use the settlement funds to upgrade the AED boxes that are outside if we're storing the Narcan?
I would say it differently, cause I don't know the specific answer, but what I would say is the settlement is specifically for opioids.
Right.
If you happen to buy a Narcan box that was better, that also happened to store an AED.
That's what I'm saying.
You could probably make the case to do it that way.
Okay.
That's-
That's kind of what I was thinking.
I think that's probably
Yeah.
an
We have to look at the settlement agreement.
look at
but
the
yeah.
settlement agreement, but I
Yeah.
think, but it's also, it's
I
more the
think-
money that's
yeah.
that we have to report back to the
Right.
county.
Yeah.
But I think
Narcan
that,
storage containers,
Yeah.
rust-proof,
that
waterproof.
waterproof, that happens to store an AED.
Yeah.
Like that's, a way to do it.
Yeah.
And for everybody, the Narcan training is still available. The Board of Health, we post the dates through Rutgers. You do the training, and after you do the 1 hour online training, easy peasy, they will send you a Narcan kit. Comes to your house within a matter of a couple days, and there are 2 doses in it, a mouth guard, and I think gloves.
Yeah, it was
In a,
great. I
in a
did the
little zipper
online
pouch,
training.
and it's,
Everybody should do
you know,
that.
and it's, the training's actually quite good. So I recommend that anybody can do it, 18 and older, anybody can do the training, so. Amy?
I just have one quick question about the appropriation for, or the capital for stack, the 35,000, because the committee was, and Bob actually were wondering about the cash flow because of purchasing the trees. And I don't know, there was some kind of confusion about timing as far as money comes through for when they can purchase. So with this 35, because the trees have to be ordered now.
So we ordered trees
Mhm.
for 21,000 from last year's budget, because we
We
didn't
used
spend
last
it.
year's, that's what
Right.
that's what I had said.
Because
at
we
the
didn't
last
really,
meeting.
we didn't do last year's capital this
Right,
until September.
right.
So we didn't, you know,
We
have
weren't
the
ready.
ability
Yeah.
to use 24's money until now,
Mm.
which I know we've got set for the, because we did a resolution
Mhm.
last meeting
Mhm.
for the planting for this year,
Yes.
for 21,000.
So this 35, could we use it to order more for this year?
Once it's in play, and you can utilize it however and whenever you would like to.
And when is that in play? As soon as we
Well, we
say-
have to introduce an
we have to
ordinance.
introduce, right, as
We
soon as
have
the
to have
ordinance is passed.
second reading,
Right.
and we have 20 days.
Right, so we're talking maybe May, late May?
Beginning of June.
Okay. Alright, it's a little late to plant trees. Okay.
But we can certainly do a fall plant.
Mm-hmm.
Which we haven't done in a long, long time. They don't recommend it anymore. But no, not really, but I'll talk to them about it. Okay, thank you.
Anything more?
No.
Okay, Seth?
The only thing I'll say, and I've shared this with some of you, is my concern about the budget, particularly in a year when the economy is very difficult, looking at a potential tax increase. I would like to see what more we might be able to cut from the proposed budget that is being introduced. I just want to make sure that we are doing right by taxpayers and being a good steward of our fellow residents' money. I think that's a conversation that's going to continue as it's introduced tonight and what's to come. And one idea moving forward that I'll speak with a number of you privately about is perhaps setting up some sort of a committee where we can take a look at shared services and potentially outsourcing some services, figuring out ways that we can deliver better for residents in a more cost-effective manner.
And people are welcome to do that at any time, so. Right?
I have,
You forgot one?
yeah, a couple of things, actually.
Mm.
So somebody mentioned training, and it came to me about the JIF training that we need to do. So, our risk manager would be more than happy to come to do an hour training with us, live. Dave Grubb would be more than happy to do an hour training live, but we have to make the time and we have to show up. So either we wanna do that, or we wanna do it online. And it is available online at your leisure, but everybody has to do it, because it's $250 a person. And that's a way to offset some costs,
And it's an hour.
and it's an hour.
I'm
It's an
sorry,
hour.
I thought usually don't we have them come
We
before
usually do it
work
in
session?
person.
In person.
Well, again, that means 5:30. So I need commitment that everybody's gonna be able to come at 5:30 in order, and they're willing to do that. So if we say the next work session, which is March 23rd, we have to be here at 5:30, would that work for everybody?
April 23rd.
April 20th.
April 20, what did I say?
March.
March, not March, we're done with March, the year's go.
So it'll be 5:30 before our regular.
Right, so it would be
No, we don't.
5:30, and then 6:30 we would
Yep.
start the work session.
Yeah, and we have
That's
to
fine.
notice the
Well, we have to, right, we have to notice because we're all meeting. Yeah.
So, 5:30?
Does everybody like that? Like, I know, I see that. I know it's not easy, and I know it's not
It
easy
makes
for
for a
Christine
long
either.
night, but I'm
Really
happy to do it.
that
I think
day
it's
especially.
worth
And
it.
again,
Yeah.
if you can't, then we can meet and you can do it
I'll do
online.
my best.
Okay,
I'll do my
so everybody's
best.
good with that?
5:30.
Now I have to make sure that
So
I
they
got,
got-
I got
you'll
Frank
confirm
or I
that?
got Don. So I will, I'll see what I can do. Okay.
Yep.
There was something I was gonna say, oh, yes, the EEOC compliance. So the EEOC compliant resolution is on the agenda, and every council member needs to sign the paperwork that indicates that you've read the EEOC compliance and that the borough is in compliance with our EOC regulations. I can't find the paper, but everybody's gotta sign it, I think it's on my desk.
Okay.
So I can't let you leave without signing that tonight, cause I have to upload that, that's part of the budget.
We'll sign that close.
Oh, good, yes, good.
Okay.
Good. I just wanted to make sure everybody was
Yeah.
aware what that meant, that's part of the budget process. And it has to be uploaded when we, upload our introduced budget to the FAST system, which is the system that the state uses. The other thing that I just wanted to clarify is that the second resolution for the bond anticipation notes, that's for 2024. That has nothing to do with what we've been talking about, that's funds that we've already approved, and now we're borrowing the money to pay for them. Again, typically I wouldn't borrow the money until I needed it, so why would I incur interest costs when I don't need to borrow the money? So now I need to borrow the money. This was from last year's September 2024 capital projects that I'm just borrowing now. So the projects that we authorized for for 2025 that we just had been talking about, I'll borrow, I don't know if I'll borrow any, but we'll see. I'll see when, we need the funding, that's when we borrow the money. It's just so that we're not spending, again, did I spend some of the money? Yeah. Probably half the projects are either started or completed. So yes, but we were able to, again, use our accumulated balances to offset that, so.
And the existence of the ordinance gave us the proper appropriation to
Proper
be able
appropriation.
to start those capital items.
Right. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that these weren't new, this wasn't a new authorization, the prior council had already authorized this. This is just part of it.
Effectuating it,
Yeah. And now I think
Okay, can I actually just say one more thing quickly? I'm sorry.
Sure.
But-
You're
You have 3 minutes.
I know, so much information. But I did receive an update this afternoon from the rec director, and I know there has been
all that.
resident concern about the AEDs at the field, so I wanted to just report that all of the fields now have the new AEDs or working AEDs deployed, with the exception of the third AED at the Faber Turf, which he is just waiting for a new box to replace the damaged box, and then he will replace that one, but the 2 other AEDs at Faber are deployed in all the other fields. So the AEDs are just about all set.
And just to be clear, this wasn't something that people didn't know about, the right people knew about it and were working on it, and this is just an update for people's information. This
Correct,
wasn't,
and
this
the
wasn't a
rec-
surprise to anybody.
Right, it's discussed at the RAB meetings, the rec director is well aware of it, and it's right on schedule for where it should be in the.
Okay.
I also think that we should just mention within the next minute is that we are getting closer to completing our work over at
Well, more on the basketball.
Yeah,
Yes.
before Brian left today, he confirmed that the contractors have been out there today. They will be looking to finish up between tomorrow and Friday. With that, we will have coordination between the contractor and the police department and the recreation department to make sure that we have everything is functioning the way that we thought that it was going to be functioning. And we are ready to open the courts.
Okay, now I'm going to public comment.
Once that's all done, yeah.
Oh, sorry, yes, go
Okay.
ahead. Sorry, I just thought we should.
If anybody has any comment, this is the time.
Public comment?
Yes.
Public comment.
Elizabeth Carr, 231 Hamilton Avenue, being that there's time and I have a bunch of questions regarding the budget. Well, I'm gonna kind of comment out in public, is that allowed? And then follow up with an email. I totally don't expect you to answer them tonight, but I want to ask questions since there was no time here. Can I do that?
You can
Well, there's
ask
time
here.
to do it now.
Well, I know,
Here you
'cause
get
there's
3
a-
minutes in
We have
there,
8
but here
minutes.
you have 10.
No,
Wait a minute.
they're gonna be longer than 8 minutes.
That's all right.
The, Okay, just everybody, the first thing on page 12, the mayor and council, everybody knows that there is a stipend, but my question with regards to that is, does it always go up every year, the stipend?
It hasn't gone up in 3 or 4 years, maybe 5.
Okay, so this would be the year that would go. The municipal clerk, is that one salary? Because the increase from last year to this year, if my math was done right, is 7.8%. I want to touch on the emergency services because, thank you Lenora for sending me all those, because this is what I did. Just a couple of comments and questions. Again, I will follow up in an email. The salary and wages for the police department, my understanding is that it's been mentioned, and Chief Ackerman mentioned it, that they're still in contract negotiations. So how did you appropriate or come up with, is that just an estimate from previous contracts?
It's called a budget. It's called making
So
a
there's-
budget and creating a budget.
So there's no set number. Are you close to settling? You can't discuss that. Okay. With regards to the Office of Emergency Management, Volunteer, and Fire Department, based on what you sent me or what they sent the borough in their budgets, I noticed that the Office of Emergency Management went from their request of 53 to 47. The ambulance corps went down as well from what they requested to what you appropriated, and the fire department as well. And then you have a clothing allowance of $36,000. Is that what you talked about at the beginning of this meeting? So the clothing is totally separate from the fire department. Okay.
The clothing that we discussed that.
Is the turnout gear.
The turnout.
So this is 36,000 and other expenses clothing. Is that also include the LoSAP? Is that the LoSAP? Oh, okay.
LoSAP is a separate line item, you'll see.
Okay. The Public Works Department also, they requested 6.8 and you're appropriating 4.5. Is that, my question will be, is that correct? Again, my math. The Lucas, that was proposed by the ambulance corps, is that going through?
Yep.
And there's 1 or 2 of them?
2.
2, so that's the
They were-
$30,000?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
30,000 is for one.
Yeah, one of them.
But they already had one.
And
Well,
the
that was what I was
second-
trying to figure out, so the
So
$30,000,
is one.
they're $30,000?
Yes.
They're
I mean,
26,
listen.
but they're 26, but then the company, the equipment that has to be bought.
Oh, gotcha, okay, and listen, I mean, don't get me wrong, being in the healthcare, I totally get it. The Health and Human Services salary and wages, I noticed was 1,800, I was just wondering who gets paid for that. The Environmental Commission, was 4,000, they asked for 3,200. Again, just going through something. With regards to the swimming pool, with a surplus of $15,000, you could have lowered it more than the 2025 appropriated, you could have lowered it, just my opinion, more than 1,000. And then the rec numbers, again, I could be wrong, are not matching on the submitted budget. Well, those are not really necessary for tonight, but, yep, that's it. So those are the things that I noticed. I did highlight stuff within the individual budgets that, were shared on, Zoom. So, sorry, Lenora, but just be prepared for a couple of
Just send me an
questions.
email.
Yeah, I will, but I just wanted, I like giving heads up, so.
Sure.
All right, thank you.
And I'm sorry you couldn't come to any of the public budget meetings.
No, I
'cause we
did.
talked- 'cause we talked
I
about
did.
it.
I
We talked
went
about
to
it.
some- I went to like 2 of them, but
We
I.
literally go line by line, line by line.
Yeah.
Through everything, and
You,
you see like why we.
you had, then I missed this meeting where you went over this one.
You must have, because we literally go through the
Sorry,
entire.
well, that's why I didn't wanna
Yeah.
waste everybody's time tonight. Okay, sorry,
No, it's
We'll
no
do it again.
problem, it's all good.
Any other comments,
Yeah,
questions?
right back there.
I do.
I have a comment.
Go right
Oh,
ahead.
did you wanna go first, or, no? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, I appreciate it. By the way, I'm a lap swimmer early in the morning, so I'm glad we're gonna be getting those, badges out soon, so, anyway. I'm Rob Seda, I live at, 228 Hamilton, and, I have a couple of general observations and concerns about the budget. I did like a quick, on the envelope calculation of our taxes that we are budgeting for the amount that we need to raise. On page 3 of your budget, we have local taxes for municipal. We've got the library tax, and then we have the open space tax. And those 3 numbers are the controllable amounts that, essentially, those are the amounts that we're gonna that are gonna end up on our tax bills. And I compared those 3 numbers for 25 that you have proposed, 24, 23, and the changes are what I'm interested in. And over the 3-year period, 22 to 23, 23 to 24, and then 24 to 25, it's averaged about 7% a year increase. Question is that sustainable? The biggest increase was going from 23 to 24 is actually a 9.3 increase. So budgets are increasing every year. The question is, how much control can we get over this thing? Also, on the capital side, on your capital schedule, and I went to the open house for the DPW. I understand it's gonna be a big issue. The facility doesn't look good. So this year, for the first time, you're showing $8 million for a possible discussion, not for 25, but maybe for 26, maybe for 27, which means we're gonna be borrowing another $8 million to add to the 22 million that we already have outstanding at the end of 24. So we're gonna be increasing our debt by about another 35%.
Just looking at the document, it's 7 million, is it? 7 million even.
I think that we threw all the DPW in one line item. So
Okay,
it's 7
so
plus
7
what?
for the building plus 1
Right.
for all the regular.
Financing would be 8, if you're gonna do it. I mean, that's the way I read your schedule. Anyway, increase in debt, big increase in debt. Right now, our budget is supporting about 900,000 or so in interest on debt. Another 8 million at, say, 5%, because rates are going up. There's another 400,000 that we're gonna have to support. We're not going in the right direction on this. We have to get our arms around the budgets. And that's what's happening. I know it's happening in other towns also. And, you know, we have to be asking some big, hard questions as to, you know, is this sustainable? And whether or not, you know, 7% average increases every year is sustainable. Seniors in town can't afford to stay here. So we need to figure out how these issues that are gonna be coming up are gonna affect our taxes in the next 2 or 3 years, and really ask some serious questions. That's my, thank you.
All right, it's 8:01. If there's a short question, is it a short question?
It could be, it could not be, I don't know, depending on the answer. Can I go? Linda Brennan, 505 Dreams Avenue. First of all, I don't like a private citizen being admonished for not attending a budget meeting, because you did attend them. And secondly, if you attended, Councilman Martin, you would know the 15,000 was for 1 drone, and Seth, you would know there were new vehicles. So I question whether you guys attended your own meeting, so, right there. Okay, some old business. I'm sorry for, this may seem a little bit old, but I didn't get the information. publicly requested information in January. It did not come until the end of February, so therefore it was in violation. And then I've been away in March. But going back to last year, I questioned several times at meetings why Councilwoman Viandra was not at council meetings. She missed numerous meetings. Other towns would have their council request her resignation, request that she writes in requesting absence. There was one email that she wrote to request an absence. Okay, fine. She was not present, and I have all the dates here. In November, after the election, I sort of brought it up again somehow, and Mayor Moriarty sort of condescendingly said to me, well, yeah, Councilwoman Viandra resigned. Yeah, thanks in part to you, Mrs. Brennan. You know, giving me some feeding here, or whatever you want to call it. So that's when I then did my Oprah request for all emails between the council, attorney, and Viandra, Miss Viandra, about her resignation from the beginning of January 24 until the end of last year. The Oprah request finally came 60 days, again, due overtime, late rather, 30-day rule, is a 30-day rule. Okay, June 4th, 2024, in the middle of primaries. Hi Jill, as I mentioned to Christine already a little while ago, after very careful consideration, I decided to resign from the council. I could read the whole document, giving her reasons. She could not fulfill her duties, had missed several meetings, not to mention the council meetings, but her subcommittee meetings. The open request, and Jill wrote back, I'm sorry to hear this, I definitely understand, I will miss you on the council, etc. Public record. I find it very hard to believe that another public record did not happen until, on this discussion, until November 22nd, after the election, where then Ms. Viandra then tendered her resignation. After careful consideration, I made a difficult decision to resign from the council, yada, yada, yada. I'd like to understand how there could be no correspondence between June and November, and secondly, how a council, and then after June, she continued to miss, let's see, August, September, November 13th. How a council can continually, supposedly the representative of our town, de facto be absent and not fulfill her duties. So I'd like some explanation here. Was this just, okay, admit what it is. Was it politics to keep someone on board so a special election could not happen until after the election? When she resigned in June.
So, Council President, if you'll allow me, you know, any governing body member, when they choose to resign and for what reasons, familial, work, what have they, you know, it is their determination, their sole determination as to when they make that decision. The governing body can't force that decision. So what her reasoning may have been, you know, isn't really something anyone else can speak to. With respect to the documents that were provided, those were the documents that there was a very exhaustive search, because as you noted, the Oprah request requested all correspondence among a very large group of people, including legal counsel, which meant they had to be reviewed to make sure there was nothing privileged, and so it did take quite some time, and we do apologize for that, but you know, that's the records that were there.
Okay. So there was no correspondence between Ms. Viandra and your Democratic Committee Chair, Lori Appapinti, about staying on the council until after the election.
So we have access to government records. Did Councilwoman Viandra speak with, you know, political leaders in the community? I have no idea. Oprah covers, and this body covers, public records. We searched all records we had access to, and the records that were responsive to your request from that search were what were provided.
Okay, I will let the public or whoever was watching determine the situation here and see if this is really what happened. Okay, I won't say anymore. Someone resigns very adamantly on June 4th, saying she cannot fulfill her duties, did not attend subsequent meetings, but then did not tender her resignation until after the election. You call this a democracy, that you're always but allowing a community to make a fair choice on an election that was so close there. So let's just call a spade, what is a spade? And I can continue, but I won't go into more hearsay. Well, let me just hold it at this, and let's see where this goes, because there is more information about these discussions, which I will leave at that for now. Thank you.
So if I can just a little bit respond and thank the attorney for her answer and for all of her work in providing the response to the Oprah request, and I'm gonna say that I personally really do not appreciate the implication or the flat out statement that there were communications that occurred that were not provided to you. The communications that did occur are the communications that were provided, and Ms. Viaggio made the decisions that she made for whatever reasons, which we are not familiar with, and the fact of the matter is that she's no longer on this council, so that I think seems to resolve the matter.
There was an election that someone, the fact of the matter is that there was a councilwoman in place that was not fulfilling her duties on a town council, based on her numerous missing of meetings, based on not requesting to be excused from meetings, which is typical in actually Ohio's state law, that you can only miss 4 council meetings, or else the council. I asked the council politely to look into it, and then I always get admonished whenever I make a request. I would like to discuss next steps with you. Please let me know which would be the best time for you to speak. So there was no communication then from June until November. Okay, let's leave it at that. I think we should leave it at that at this point and let other people come to their own conclusions.
We have to go out to the public meeting.
We can come back.
We can come back.
Be back.
Well,
So,
We're gonna come back
I'm
to
gonna
the
suspend.
upload, so,
We'll suspend the work session?
yeah, so do I get a motion to suspend the work
Motion
session?
to suspend.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Oh, thank you.
Yes, I'm fine.
You know what, you gotta check these too. Seth, check these. These are from the last meeting. 6 years.
I'll get that to you tomorrow before.
Mine is.
I'll be doing with the drawing card, Okay, we'll talk tomorrow, but,
Did I miss people?
you know what, we'll do it on the beach. There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
Chief, that guy is still asking
Did I miss you?
for more time.
I'm so sorry. It wasn't, I just grabbed it. I'm sorry.
Well, you have written to, this summer when we do National Night Out, we usually have the SWAT front.
Oh, you've made my kids want to have a career there now. My kids did not want to leave that chuck last summer.
He was too young to appreciate it last year, but he was in his glory.
Oh, I'm glad. They always thank you for, happy to do it.
Oh, I left that one on.
Your mic.
All right, everybody ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Excellent. All right, welcome to the April 9th, 2025 public meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of New York. New York, Glen Rock. That's the kind of day I've been having, so I'm just gonna go. Welcome to the April 9th, 2025 public meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Glen Rock. All together? This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. This meeting was noticed in the Bergen Record and Star Ledger, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, posted on the borough website, and has remained continuously posted as per the required notices under the statute. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Lenora, please call the roll.
Councilmember Martin?
Here.
Councilmember Gilbreath?
Here.
Councilmember Orlick?
Here.
Councilmember Call?
Here.
Councilmember Rosansky?
Here.
Councilmember Rosenstein?
Here.
All right, if we can do the flag salute, and I'm going to ask Chief Ackerman to lead us in the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. It was announced previously, but in case you haven't noticed, Mayor Mariko is not here. I am here tonight to lead this meeting as council president. She is having fun in sunny California. So the first thing that I wanted to mention this evening is, news that will impact us here in the borough. It'll impact all of us. And we are announcing that our borough administrator, Lenora Benjamin, AKA the woman over here who's usually on the end, has announced that she is retiring. And so we are going to really all feel this incredible loss to the borough. Both her diligence, her commitment to the job, her years of experience. How many years, Lenora?
33.
33 years of experience and dedication to the borough. So we will never be able to replace her, but we will have to find somebody who will take on her duties, and we'll be commencing that. But she'll be around until September 1? September 1, not a minute longer. And she's made that very clear to us. And so she'll be heading out to have a wonderful retirement and make lots of plans for her daughter's wedding, which is in October. So we will miss her terribly, but we'll have plenty of time to say our fond farewells. But we just wanted to let folks know in the community that that was a change that would be going on in the borough here. All right. Did you want to say anything, Lenore?
Nope.
I didn't think so.
Round of applause for
True
Laura.
form.
All right. All right, we have two proclamations for this evening. The first one is Autism Awareness Month, April 2025. And, you know, I don't know about you, but I think it's very common for people to know somebody either in their family or of a good friend, somebody who has autism. And it's a wide variety of degrees of how the person is affected. But I know in my life, I have a nephew who has autism. I have a good friend who spent a lot of time working with children who are autistic, and you know, it's wonderful to be able to include everybody in our community because everybody has something to offer. So we're going to read this Autism Awareness Proclamation, and I will start.
It does need to be changed, but the
Okay.
statistics are different now.
Okay.
Whereas autism spectrum disorder, ASD, is a neurobiological disorder characterized by impairments in social communication and interaction, as well as restricted and repetitive patterns of behavior. Individuals with autism have difficulty interacting with others, building relationships, using language, regulating their emotions, and understanding others' points of view and.
Whereas the term spectrum highlights how the specific social and behavioral challenges vary for each individual and sometimes across each person's lifetime. Some have challenges that significantly impair their daily activities and require constant supervision to stay safe. Others have few noticeable impairments. And
whereas more than 2% of American adults and 1 in every 54 of our children have autism, and CDC studies have indicated that 1 in 32 children in New Jersey are identified with ASD, which continues to exceed and outpace other states with 1 in 20 boys and 1 in 85 girls. And
whereas the mayor and borough council are committed to the support of adults and children with autism in the borough of Glen Rock, and
whereas the mayor and borough council wish to highlight the needs of people on the autism spectrum and their families and supporting understanding, acceptance, inclusion, and the empowerment of people on the autism spectrum, and
Now therefore be it resolved by the, thank you. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Borough Council of Glen Rock that we acknowledge April as Autism Awareness Month in the Borough of Glen Rock, and
Be it further resolved that the Borough of Glen Rock intends to raise awareness, improve early diagnosis, encourage support and compassion to those who are affected by autism, and build a more welcoming and inclusive community to support people with autism.
okay. Thank you, everybody. I will also mention that this is New Jersey Local Government Week, and we have been honoring that this week on Sunday, we did a brunch for older residents in Glen Rock and told them about all the services that are available by the borough and by the county, and that was really well received. Monday night, we did a Borough 101, and tomorrow, representatives from the council will be going into the middle school for 2 sessions of 100 students each to talk about the borough and to talk about how boroughs work. So the Sunday, we also had Touch a Truck. So it's been a busy week for Government Week. So if you participated, thank you. It's actually, it is a great week to think about what happens in government. Okay. This evening, we're going to talk about police department service recognitions, and I'm going to have Councilmember Orlick say a few words and then invite up the chief.
thank you, Council President Gilbert. I'm honored to say a few words tonight as we celebrate a great milestone, 20 years of dedicated service to our community by Sergeant Scott McGovern, Sergeant Brian Scott, and Patrol Officer Anna Marie Matina of the Glen Rock Police Department. 20 years is a long period of time, a testament to unwavering commitment to our community and a profound sense of duty. From the countless calls answered to the challenges faced, Sergeant McGovern, Sergeant Scott, and Officer Mattina have consistently demonstrated the highest standards of professionalism and integrity. Their dedication has not only kept our residents safe, but has also built trust and fostered positive relationships within our community. They have worked in many ways to make this community the best that it can be. We are deeply grateful for all of the work Sergeant McGovern, Sergeant Scott, and Officer Mattina have done, both personally and professionally, to serve our community. Their impact extends far beyond the badge and uniform. It's etched in the lives they've touched, the safety they've ensured, and the community they've helped to improve. As we honor 20 years of service by Sergeant McGovern, Sergeant Scott, and Officer Mattina, I'd also like to acknowledge the rest of the Glen Rock Police Department, who serve with such dedication and courage. Your work is invaluable, and I am proud to serve this community with you. At this time, I'd like to call up Chief Ackerman to recognize the 20 years of service by Sergeant McGovern, Sergeant Scott, and Officer Mattina. Thank you.
Thank you. I also, before I begin, I want to recognize retired Chief Steve Cherry. He was chief of police here when all three of these officers were hired, and he came back out of retirement today to honor them on their accomplishment. Before I begin, the mayor sent me an email today, and since she could not be here, she asked me to read her statement because she is regretful that she cannot be here. On behalf of Glen Rock, I want to extend my sincerest congratulations and deepest gratitude as you mark 20 years of distinguished service with the Glen Rock Police Department. I truly wish I could be with you tonight, but as each of you understands so well, family comes first, and that has taken me to the opposite coast this evening. I still want to know that I'm celebrating you in spirit with immense appreciation. Your unwavering commitment to the safety and well-being of our residents will have a lasting and meaningful impact on this community. Over the past 2 decades, your professionalism, integrity, and compassion have set a standard for all those who serve, whether patrolling our streets, responding in a moment of crisis, building trust with our residents. Your dedication has not gone unnoticed. We often measure success of community policing by strengths in relationship and familiarity between our officers and the people they serve. Tonight, we honor 3 individuals whose faces are not just known, but are trusted throughout Glen Rock. Whether it's riding a motorcycle, hosting coffee with a cop, or simply being a steady and reassuring presence around the town, you have become part of the fabric of our daily lives. I have had the privilege of knowing each of you personally over the past decade. From chasing bees away from our kids with Sergeant Scott, we'll also remember a chipmunk rescue, being chased out of the bird school pickup line by Sergeant McGovern, to chasing the dream of a more equitable future for women alongside Officer Mattina as we serve together on the Commission on the Status of Women. Each of you has personally and lasting impact me and my family, and that speaks volume about who you are, not just as officers, but as people. Sergeant McGovern, I know your dad is proudly watching you tonight. Sergeant Scott and Officer Mattina, I've had the honor of knowing your families as well, and I am certainly know that they are proud of you tonight. Thank you for your service, your sacrifice, and your continued devotion to Glen Rock. With great appreciation, Christine. I was also on the phone with Congressman Gottheimer, who was in Washington and could not be here tonight, but he also wanted to extend his congratulations to each of you. So tonight I am honoring each of these officers in the order in which they joined the police department. The first one is Officer Mattina, and I'm actually going to honor her by her correct name, Officer Anna Marie Mattina Hendricks, her husband Nuno, and her children here with her tonight. Anna began her law enforcement career as a special officer with the Halden Police Department in 1998. She became a full-time police officer with the Patterson Police Department in 2001. During her tenure with the Patterson Police, she served in patrol, community policing, and narcotics and vice. In 2005, she transferred to the Glen Rock Police Department, becoming the department's first female officer, paving the way for those female officers who have followed her. She is currently one of the senior-most members of the Patrol Division. Anna serves as a member of the department's Crisis Intervention Team, is a certified emergency medical technician, and served for years as an instructor in our former DARE program. She served as president of Glen Rock PBA Local 110 from 2009 to 2013, and has maintained an active leadership role in the PBA, returning to the executive board this year as vice president. An example to young women in the community, in 2018, she was nominated by then Glen Rock High School senior Laura Yoon for Women's History Month as a distinguished honoree. She was selected as one of the final recipients of the award by Bergen County Executive James Tedesco and the Board of Commissioners when she was presented with the recognition Women's History, Nevertheless She Persisted Award. Anna is a member of and represents the Glen Rock Police Department as part of the Bergen County Department Human Services Commission on the Status of Women. That organization was founded in 1975 and serves as a bridge between government and community, studying the needs of women, promoting the expansion of women's rights in such areas as domestic violence, child care, and elder care. I'd like to ask Officer Martina Hendricks and her family to come up. Next is Sergeant Scott McGovern. Sergeant McGovern is a second-generation police officer, the son of the late Sergeant Craig McGovern of the Park Ridge Police Department. We sadly lost Sergeant Craig McGovern in 1993 when he was killed by a drunk driver. Scott began his involvement with law enforcement as a member of the Park Ridge Police Reserves while working as a chef and a paramedic. To this day, he currently remains a paramedic, which is of a great benefit to our community. In 2003, he began his full-time law enforcement career as a member of the New Jersey Transit Police Department. In 2005, he transferred to the Glen Rock Police Department, first serving in the Patrol Division. In 2008, he was transferred to the Traffic Safety Bureau, and in 2017, he was promoted to the rank of sergeant and became the department's first full-time traffic safety supervisor. He is a level 1 traffic safety specialist certified in traffic engineering for police officers. He has taken the lead on numerous endeavors to increase and enhance traffic safety throughout the community, working with our borough engineer and the challenge of working with the county engineer's office. In 2021, he was the recipient of the prestigious Jack Springle Award presented by the Traffic Safety Officers Association, which is the premier award for traffic officers demonstrating excellence and dedication to traffic safety. Among the projects he has taken the lead on are the rectangular rapid flashing beacons, otherwise known as crosswalk flashers to the rest of us, at high volume traffic intersections throughout the community, working in conjunction with the county and also with our neighbors in Hawthorne. He has obtained traffic safety grants, oversees traffic enforcement details, work zone safety compliance for the ever-increasing amount of road construction projects in Glen Rock. He is the liaison to the Department of Public Works. He is a certified motor officer and serves as part of the Glen Rock Police Department's motorcycle unit, along with Officer Pytak, who was in the back. He has served on the executive board of the Traffic Officers Association. Prior to his promotion, he was the elected state delegate for the Glen Rock PBA Local 110. He is the department's lead firearms instructor, a certified armorer, Narcan coordinator, and oversees our body-worn camera and taser programs. He is one of the go-to people for anything we need in the Glen Rock Police Department. I'd like to ask Scott and his wife Kathleen to come up. Next is Sergeant Brian Scott, who also joined us in 2005. He is also a second-generation police officer, the son of the late Sergeant Frank Scott of the Harrington Park Police Department. His brother Frank, who is here with us tonight, is a deputy chief with the Paramus Police Department. Someone put a note here that we got the better Scott brother. I don't know who did. After a career in the corporate world, Sergeant Scott entered the Somerset County Police Academy as an alternate route recruit, where he served as a squad leader. Upon completing training, he was hired by the Glen Rock Police Department in 2005 and assigned to the Patrol Division, where he continues to serve. Brian served as president of Glen Rock PBA Local 110 from 2013 to 2017, where he distinguished himself in leading the local through a very difficult time in this department. He was promoted to sergeant in November of 2017 and currently serves as a patrol tour commander. He has dedicated himself to the next generation of police officers. Sergeant Scott is the lead member of our new officer recruiting and selection committee. He is the department's field training coordinator, and he is a state licensed police instructor who is actively involved in teaching recruits at the Bergen County Police Academy. He has also been a guest lecturer at Bergen Community College and Lincoln Tech. Sergeant Scott is a certified drug recognition expert, trained as an emergency medical technician, and coordinates our department body armor program, as well as assisting with information technology. He is an active leader in our community engagement projects. He is the founder of our Coffee with a Cop program, the founder and driving force behind our holiday toy drive, and has also coordinated Halloween safety presentations, as well as working in cooperation with the New Jersey Motor Vehicle Commission in bringing real ID licensing events here to the borough. Seeking to further expand his commitment to leadership, Sergeant Scott is currently enrolled in an executive leadership program at Fairleigh Dickinson University. I'd like to ask Sergeant Scott and his family to come join us. Come on, the rest of you can come up. There you go.
You're not.
I want to thank you for taking the time to honor our officers, and we'll do a group picture. Don't go anywhere. And I just want to call to everyone's attention that the Glen Rock Police Department is hiring, and 20 years from now, this could be you being honored. If anybody is between 21 and 35 or knows someone who is and interested in being a law enforcement officer, our recruiting poster is up there with a QR code that takes you to our online application site. Come on up. We're going to take a picture with everybody. Yeah, we'll do that. Why don't we have the whole department come on up?
All right, we're getting started again. Thank you. All right, so the order tonight is a little bit different because we're introducing the budget, and so there are a couple things that we do before we go into the usual consent agenda. So if it seems a little bit different than a normal order of a council meeting, that's because it is. So first up is ordinance number 1940 for first reading, and this is the ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank. So COLA, the cost of living adjustment, it's an ordinance, it's a mechanism that's supplied by the state to allow municipalities, to increase the amount by which the budget appropriations can be increased year over year. This ordinance was put in place in 1977. It's been around for a long time. For 2025, the cap is 2.5. It can be increased to 3.5 by the ordinance. And every year since the state enacted this provision, Glen Rock has, and most other municipalities, not all, but most, have used this ordinance to allow for the ability to utilize the increased percentage. It's a sound fiscal business practice to put forth the ordinance, whether you need the extra percentage or not. But we have done this every year since 1977. So I need a motion to introduce ordinance 1940 for the first reading.
I'll make that motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A motion, an ordinance, be it resolved by the Borough of Glen Rock, Borough Council of the Borough of Glen Rock, an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank. Heretofore be it resolved and now does pass on first reading, and that said ordinance be further considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on May 14th, 2025 at 8 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter can be reached at the municipal building in the Borough of Glen Rock, and that at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the Borough Clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance in the Bergen Record according to law with the notice of its introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place and where said ordinance will be considered for final passage. I have to call the roll.
Could you call the roll?
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilbreth.
Yes.
Councilmember Orlick.
Yes.
Councilmember Rosansky.
Yes.
Councilmember Rosenstein.
No.
And you missed call.
Councilmember Call.
Yes.
I told you I can't do two things at one time. Okay.
Okay, ordinance number 1940 passes for first reading. Thank you. All right, next up is a resolution for the budget introduction. This is a
I put National Government Week too, there.
Okay, do you want me to go? I'll do it after this.
That's fine.
I'll do it after this. Next up is a resolution for the budget introduction, the municipal budget of the Borough of Glen Rock for the fiscal year 2025. Can I get do I need a motion to introduce?
Nope,
No?
I'm just gonna read it.
We're just going to read the resolution?
Yep.
Okay.
Municipal budget notice. Municipal budget of the Borough of Glen Rock, County of Bergen for fiscal year 2025. Be it resolved that the following statement of revenues and appropriations shall constitute the municipal budget for the year 2025 in the amount of $25,832,266.68. And be it resolved that said budget be published in the Record newspaper in the issue of April 17th, 2025. The governing body of the Borough of Glen Rock does hereby approve the following as the budget for the year 2025.
Lenore, please call the roll.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilbreth.
Yes.
Councilmember Orlick.
Yes.
Councilmember Call.
Yes.
Councilmember Rosansky.
Yes.
Councilmember Rosenstein.
No.
Madam Council President, I'm sorry, did we have a motion and a second?
Maybe not. Would you like to start over?
If we can just run through that one more time, if we have a motion and a second for the resolution, please?
Can I get a motion
I'll make that motion.
and a second?
I'm sorry, what is
We
the
didn't,
motion?
my fault. For the
For the budget,
resolution,
for the budget.
We
introduction.
ran through the roll without a
Without
motion and a second.
motioning. We
Okay.
need to motion.
okay.
So Councilmember Rosansky, I believe, was.
And a second?
Yes,
I'll second. Or Jill,
Jill.
that's fine.
Okay. Okay,
We're all good.
we're all good?
Mhm.
All right, so next up, we have our consent agenda. And there are 7 items on the consent agenda for this evening. Right. Do I need a motion?
Local government week.
Oh,
So we have one more resolution.
I have
on
one more
non-consent,
resolution.
Which is National Local Government Week.
But are we adding it in, or are we going to read it separately?
I put it on to read it separately. 'cause
All
it's
right.
very important.
I'm going to read another resolution then, sorry, folks. There it is, okay. Nope. Hold on. couldn't find it. I'll take it, thank you. All right, we have a resolution by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Glen Rock recognizing New Jersey Local Government Week, April 6th to the 12th, 2025, and encourage all citizens to support the celebration and corresponding activities. Can I get a motion to introduce this resolution?
I'll make that motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
All right, and we'll read, or we'll just approve?
We can read.
We can read.
Whereas local government is the government closest to most citizens and the one with the most direct daily impact upon its residents, and
Whereas local government provides services and programs that enhance the quality of life for residents, making their municipality their home. And
whereas local government is administered for and by its citizens and is dependent upon public commitment to and understanding of its many responsibilities, and
Whereas local government officials and employees share the responsibility to pass along the understanding of public services and their benefits, and
Whereas New Jersey Local Government Week offers an important opportunity for elected officials and local government staff to spread the word to all citizens of New Jersey that they can shape and influence this branch of government, and
Whereas the New Jersey State League of Municipalities and its member municipalities have joined together to teach citizens about municipal government through a variety of activities.
now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Glen Rock as follows. That the Borough of Glen Rock encourages all citizens, local government officials, and employees to participate in events that recognize and celebrate New Jersey Local Government Week, and
the Borough of Glen Rock encourages educational partnerships between local government, schools, as well as civic groups and other organizations. And
the Borough of Glen Rock supports and encourages all New Jersey local governments to actively promote and sponsor New Jersey Local Government Week. Lenore, can you call the roll?
Councilmember Martin?
yes.
Councilmember Gilbreath?
Yes.
Councilmember Orlick?
yes.
Councilmember Call?
Yes?
Councilmember Rosansky?
yes.
Councilmember Rosenstein?
yes.
Okay. Now on to the consent agenda.
All items listed are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the Borough Council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless the council member requests it, in which case the items will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. One motion signifies adoption of all resolutions, received and filed letters, correspondence reports, and approval of applications and minutes. Resolution 1 is for approval of minutes. Resolution 2 is for bond and notes. Resolution 3 is for EEOC compliance. Resolution 4, supporting the preservation of federal tax exemption. Resolution 5, Passaic Valley Commission long-term plan. Resolution 6, to award the pool food concession contract. Resolution 7 for stigma-free committee appointments.
Thank you. Lenore, please call the roll. No?
We need a motion?
Oh. Can we get a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
Now, Lenore?
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Yes.
Councilmember Orlick.
Yes.
Councilmember Call.
Yes.
Councilmember Rosansky.
Yes.
Councilmember Rosenstein.
Yes.
Okay. Tonight, we have two ordinances following the first one that we did earlier. One is for first reading and one is for second reading. Ordinance 1939 is on for first reading. This is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 116 of the Municipal Code of the Borough of Glen Rock entitled Food Establishments to add a new Article 3 entitled Non-Reusable Plastic Food and Beverage Accessories. Lenore, can you read?
Be it resolved by the Borough Council of the Borough of Glen Rock, an ordinance supplementing Chapter 116 of the Municipal Code of the Borough of Glen Rock entitled Food Establishments to add a new Article 3 entitled Non-Reusable Plastic Food and Beverage Accessories.
Okay. I need a motion can I get a motion to introduce ordinance 1939?
I'll make that motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
Heretofore introduced and now just pass on first reading, that the said ordinance be further considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on May 14th, 2025 at 8 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter can be reached at the municipal building in the Borough of Glen Rock, and that at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the Borough Clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance in the Bergen Record according to law, with its notice of introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be considered for final passage.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilbreth.
Yes.
Councilmember Orlick.
Yes.
Councilmember Call.
Yes.
Councilmember Rosansky.
Yes.
Councilmember Rosenstein.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is this being pulled?
Yeah, can I borrow your
Madam Council President, our second ordinance that's listed tonight, ordinance 1936 for second reading, an ordinance authorizing the execution of a corrective deed between the Borough of Glen Rock and the Village of Ridgewood with respect to Block 46, Lot 5, and an easement and right-of-way agreement. There's a request from legal to withdraw this ordinance. There's been further negotiations between the parties, and we will be introducing a new ordinance with an updated form of agreement at a future meeting. So if at your pleasure, if we could seek a motion to withdraw ordinance 1936.
Can I get a motion to withdraw this ordinance?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Lenore, please call the roll.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilbreth.
Yes.
Councilmember Orlick.
Yes.
Councilmember Call.
Yes.
Councilmember Rosansky.
Yes.
Councilmember Rosenstein.
Yes.
Thank you. Before we go to public comment, we're at the end? So I just want to mention, I've mentioned this before, so Revolution, New Jersey, we are starting to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the country, and as a prelude to that, on April 18th, there will be lanterns in the municipal building to commemorate the 250th ride of Paul Revere and 5 other individuals. They are being put here by Kathleen Walter, our historian, as well as high school students. There's also a video that's going out. It'll be on Glen Rock TV and available on the Historical Society website, and it's a great way to start thinking about Revolution NJ. So just wanted to mention that because it is the 18th. All right, can I get a motion to open to public comment?
I'll make that motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. All right, as a reminder, you have 3 minutes, and it is public comment, not public discussion.
Correct. Good evening again. Elizabeth, 231 Hamilton Avenue. With regard to the ordinance 1939, your amendment for the skip the stuff, you discussed at the last meeting. I made notes that most businesses are already doing it in town. And I know you discussed it. It's not that I'm opposed to the content or the context or the purpose of the ordinance. It's just that you want to monetarily fine our businesses in town for, and I just want to, reiterate my understanding is that if they readily hand out disposable utensils, they could potentially be fined if someone reports them. The person who you said that you were going to ask was the person from the Board of Health. I'm not sure if you established that yet, but that was left up in the air also by last meeting. The first violation, I think you guys remind me, was $100 for each violation. My only concerns is, A, the monetary fine on our local businesses that we know that are hard to even attract recently in the town. You're alienating the businesses. Number 2 is it was stated by Councilwoman Orlick that I believe it was her that most of the businesses that she spoke to had already been doing it. So I'm not really quite sure what the motivation to put it in an ordinance is if they're already doing it. And then the third thing, if I didn't say, was who is going to enforce it. I know that was also up in the air about who is going to enforce it and how it was going to be enforced, 30-day remediation and whatnots. So I just am following up within my 3 minutes. Was all that rectified as far as who is going to do it, who's going to follow up, how is it going to be followed up, all the remediation? Was that discussed in the last 2 weeks?
Do you have any other items for your 3 minutes?
Nope.
Madam Council President, just to answer the questions, the ordinance will be enforced by the Board of Health in the same manner as all other ordinances and regulations with respect to the regulation of restaurants. So it's going to be the same personnel who would inspect you for cleanliness, et cetera. There is a initial warning if there's a violation of the ordinance and the 30-day period in order to correct that. After the initial warning and the 30-day period, a food provider who continues to violate the ordinance can be subject to a fine of $100 per violation.
Okay, so if I can just follow up, I know that there was questions that were brought up on who specifically within the Board of Health. It was mentioned local versus the county because Glen Rock contracts the county to do our Board of Health investigations, enforcements, and visits. So did we confirm with the county that they are now going to add this responsibility into the contract? And is there a change in the contract that we have with the county? And if there is a change in the county, with the county, is there a monetary change within the contract?
So there's no need to make any changes to the contract with the county. They enforce all of our health code food safety regulations. Once adopted, this will be one of those items that will be enforced like any other regulation that's passed by the municipality. So there's no need to change the scope of the contract or
Okay.
or to
But this is not a
increase
food
the.
violation. This is really more of like an environmental violation. It doesn't really fall under food safety. So again, I understand what you're saying. Let me finish, please. I understand what you're saying, but it doesn't fall under the guidelines for food violations. So here's my question straight up. Did this borough or the person responsible actually contact the county board of health that we contract and ask them if they would be willing to do it? It's a yes or no answer.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
I hope she's coming back. John Hendel, 59 Griswold Place. I was actually first going to start by thanking Lenora for all of her years of service. And Lenora, if you're still there, I know it's been 33 years. 35 is a nice round number. So give it a think after the wedding. But seriously, though, thank you for everything that you've done. I know we haven't always agreed on everything, but you always give your honest opinion, you always give your all for the town. So just thank you so much for everything that you've done. Secondly, I just wanted to say thank you also to the committee here for the council for your recognition of Autism Awareness Day, Awareness Month. I actually sit on the Communications Committee for Autism New Jersey. They have a number of great tools for municipalities, including things for the police, when there's a traffic stop, just certain things how they can be educated to make sure that they're engaging with someone with autism the right way. I'd be happy to pass that information along and put you in contact with the executive director if that's of interest. I also wanted to thank you for listening to the residents about the RFBs and finding a way to get them put around town. I think the locations that you picked are really great. They're going to help a lot of people. There are a couple that I think might be also in the mix, like by the Rock or maybe by the Park. I didn't really hear those. But maybe that's for the next round. And I will bring this up in the extended working session. I did hear, on my ride over, that Coleman's not getting the RFB, but I didn't hear anything about a crosswalk. And I know that was sort of the genesis of a lot of this with myself and some other people. So I was just hoping to get an update on that. And just lastly, the last meeting I was at, I had raised the issue about What's the timing to get a parking pass for the commuter lot? I still have not gotten a follow-up call from anybody about what I submitted. I mean, that's $200 that the town's not getting. And I just would really love an answer to see what's the timing supposed to be from submitting your information on the app to actually getting the material. I mean, I've been a resident for 25 years, so I don't think it's a question of if I live here or not. Thank you.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Aye.
Can I get a motion to conclude the public session and go back into the work session?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.